Welcome back to my workshop. Now today I've been sent something here and this is an air detector. I don't know if you remember before, but I've done a previous review of an air quality monitor which is similar to this one. The video's here. Okay, but this one is a new one that I've been sent for the purpose of review. I'm not getting paid to say anything nice about this, but they did send it to me and a stand. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look through this one and do some tests and find out what it does, what it can measure, and if we're brave enough, we'll find out how it measures it. Okay, now this is the Mustool, yeah, got it right, the Mustool 15-in-1 air quality monitor. Okay, it's available on Banggood. I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video, but before you rush out and buy one, let's go through this and we'll have a look and you can decide whether or not you want to get one. Before we find out exactly what it does, let's get it out of the box. We'll have a look at it. We might need to charge it. So let's do that. Right, so in my previous video, I reviewed this. I'm still using this every single day. This is great for seeing how much pollution's in the workshop. Obviously that's what I'm interested in, whether or not there's any dust or any pollution in the workshop, so I can know whether to wear a mask or open a window, open a door, etc, etc. Okay, that was my previous one. So now this is hopefully going to replace it, but we won't know until we get it out of the box. Right, so what do we get? We get an instruction booklet, which is in English, okay, and also in Chinese. Okay, I think I'll stick to the English side because I can't read Chinese. Okay, we'll have a look through that in a second. We get the device itself, and then we get a little charge cable. Okay, USB to USB-C. Okay. I'll have a quick look through this to see what we've got to do, just in case we've got to do anything before we actually power this thing up. Right, so I've had a quick look through the instructions here. Basically what I've got to do is plug it in and hold the button for 3 seconds. Now, obviously it doesn't come with an adapter, so there's just a normal USB adapter. Let's plug it in and then push the button for 3 seconds. Okay, so it's a little USB-C on there. Okay, it's come on, it's showing me that it's charging. All right, let's push the button for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Oh, preheat 59. Okay, so it looks like it's going to go into some heating sequence for a minute. So I'm sure we don't need to watch that. Right, and there we go. We've got the main display. Now, I think what it does now, over the next few minutes, it will start to display the current air quality parameters. Okay, so at the moment, it's just getting a good idea of what the air quality in the workshop is like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for 5 minutes, let it stabilise, and then we'll start having a look. Right, so it's been on for a few minutes now. Let's quickly look through this main screen here. At the top here, we've got the date and the time. Obviously, I've got to adjust those, so I'll have to find out how. We've also got a Wi-Fi signal going on here. Now, you can, I won't cover it in this video, but you can connect this to your phone so you can record a lot of these parameters and view them as a historical data. But I won't do that in this video, that'll be for another video. Obviously up here, you've got your charge status. At the moment, it's still charging, so that's showing it charging. We've got a temperature here in centigrade, but if you want to change it, a single push, quick push on the button on the side here, and that should change to Fahrenheit, which it does. Okay, 69 Fahrenheit. But I'm in the UK, I'm used to Celsius, so I'll leave that in centigrade. Okay, over here you've got the relative humidity. Okay, so RH. That's how damp the air is. I'll tell you about that in a minute. At the moment it's 52%, which means it's quite damp in here. That's probably why it feels so cold. Over here we've got a scale with AQI in it. I'll tell you what that's all about in a moment. CO2 here, CO here, HC, HO. Don't worry about what all these are, I'll tell you in a moment. TVOC, okay. PM1, PM2.5, PM10 and PM0.3. Okay, I'll cover all these in a second. Okay, to look at the other screens, again using a button here, if we do a triple press, 1, 2, 3, okay, it brings us onto a second screen. Okay, again we got the time and the date up the top here, and we got 3 different stopwatches. Okay, and to start and stop the stopwatch, a single press on here, and it should start counting. Oh, why is that gone? It went asleep. Okay, and if I want to stop it, single press, should stop. 3 presses, should take me back to the main screen. Okay, right, so there's loads of numbers. Let's talk about what they all mean. Right, so this is a 15-in-1 sensor, okay? It's very cheap. As I say, it was £20. It's now January in 2025. So for £20, it can measure all of these things. Now, I'm a bit dubious about that because I know how much things really cost. Some of these should really have an independent sensor inside, okay, to measure things properly. Now, we're going to be able to test that later on. But first of all, we'll go through the 15 things it can actually measure, or it actually displays. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Date and time, okay, we've got to find out how to adjust those. Temperature, now obviously you've seen I can change it from centigrade to Fahrenheit. That's always handy in the workshop, just as a quick glimpse to see whether you should go back in and have a cup of tea or whether the workshop's workable. RH, now RH is relative humidity, okay, that's how much moisture is in the air, okay. If it's raining, it's normally about 100% RH because obviously everything is saturated, the air is saturated and you're breathing in saturated air, okay. Normally in the workshop here, it's normally on about 30%, 20%. It's quite damp, I'm in the UK. But that's just to give you an idea of how much moisture is in the air. Obviously, if it's cold and the moisture can freeze, it makes it very unpleasant, but that'll give you a good idea. Right, AQI is Air Quality Index. Now, I'm not an expert. I just want to get this out of the way. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm not a chemist or whatever. I don't understand all of these things, but I do know what they mean. And all I'm doing is I'm letting you know what I know. Okay, it's up to you to do your own research on all these sort of things. Okay, but AQI is Air Quality Index. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is a calculated value based on all of the other inputs that it's detecting. Okay, so you might have one high value of one thing and a fairly low value of something else, and it will calculate and give you an overall air quality index. Okay, this is a good all-round if you just want a quick glimpse to see what the air quality is like. If this goes into the red, you don't want to be around, okay, you want to go somewhere else. Okay, CO is carbon monoxide. Okay, this is normally produced as a result of, say, a fire. So if you've got a log burning stove, it burns the oxygen and basically it replaces it with carbon monoxide. Now, carbon monoxide is bad for you because it's odorless. And if you breathe it in, and effectively you could end up filling your lungs with carbon monoxide, that will replace all of the oxygen and you'll die. Okay, so carbon monoxide is a killer. I've got a separate carbon monoxide sensor in the living room where the fire is, just to keep us safe. That's got an alarm on it, and I think this has got alarms on it as well. Okay, carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide, as most of you will know, is what we breathe out. Okay, we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, why would you want to know if it's something we breathe out? Example, if you're in a room with a lot of people and everyone's breathing out carbon dioxide, okay, you can end up with carbon dioxide levels that are unacceptable. You'll start feeling tired, you'll get headaches, okay, so it'll give you a good indication when you should open a window, open a door, and change the air in the room, okay. So carbon dioxide, even though you breathe it out, it can actually be quite bad for you. So that's another one to keep an eye on. Right, HCHO. Now HCHO, what the hell is that? Now basically that's the chemical formula or chemical symbol for formaldehyde. Okay, now formaldehyde is found in a lot of building materials, in a lot of adhesives that are used in plywood and MDF. So if you're working in the workshop like I do, this will be apparent when you start cutting MDF and that sort of thing. Okay, so obviously keep a good eye on that. Formaldehyde is a carcinogenic. Okay, so don't inhale it, it will just make you bad. Okay, so that's another one to keep a very close eye on. Right, TVOC is total volatile organic compounds. Okay, now a lot of VOCs are the type of emissions that are present, which you've all smelt when you open a tin of varnish, or if you spray aerosols, all of this sort of thing. Okay, TVOC is a total value that will give you a general idea of how much of that type of pollutant is in the air. Okay, TVOCs or VOCs, they can cause irritation to the eyes, the nose, the throat. Okay, you don't want to be breathing it in. It will give you a good idea when you should be wearing a mask. Okay, so that's total volatile organic compounds. Right, next. Now these four here, okay, I've covered these in a previous video, this video up here. Okay, and PM is basically particulate matter. Okay, now obviously PM10, PM2.5, PM1 and 0.3. Okay, now what these numbers mean is how big they are. Okay, we're talking about particulate matter, so the particles are 10 microns, 2.5 microns, 1 micron and 0.3 microns. Okay, as I say, I covered it in a previous video, but just quickly, these are the big ones. Okay, things like pollen and that sort of stuff that you can almost see, you know, but if you breathe them in, they're going to make you cough. PM 2.5, they will get in your lungs and you can't get them out. So this is general pollution. So this is the one that most people refer to. PM1, lot smaller particles, okay, and they can actually get in your lungs. They can pass through your lung, the wall of your lungs, and actually get into the bloodstream. And PM 0.3 are very tiny. They can actually get into your organs. All of these things are bad, okay? They're not supposed to be in your body. If you can stop inhaling them, then that's great, okay? But PM 0.3, which is the tiny, tiny ones, they're the ones that end up blocking up your filters because they're so small that they actually build up and end up blocking stuff. Right, but as I say, I covered that a bit more in a previous video. Last two things here is an alarm clock, okay, which I haven't used. The chances are I probably won't use one in the workshop, but if I had this mounted on my desk or by the side of my bed, then I could probably set the alarm clock. And finally, as I mentioned, the timer, which is like a stopwatch, which could be quite useful. Right, that's what it can measure. That's the 15 things. As I say, some of these should have a dedicated sensor, but some of these, for things like measuring CO, some of the sensors are quite expensive. So I don't know how they managed to do it with this for £20. Anyway, let's get back to the actual sensor and have a look. Right, I've just reviewed that footage of me rambling on and waffling on about all this lot for the last God knows how long. I just want to reiterate, I am not an expert, okay? I'm not qualified to talk about this. I'm just telling you what I know, and what I know is enough for me in my workshop, okay? It's entirely up to you to do your own research. That will give you a rough idea what I've just gone through. But please, if there's anything in particular you use in your workshop, like resins or varnishes, paints, aerosols, or particular sanding materials or whatever, please do your own research so you know what to look for in your workshop or in your house, okay? Right, that was me just covering my arse. So now back to the sensor. Right, so while I've been waffling on, this thing has gone to sleep. So it's obviously got some sort of screen save. Okay, it's not touch screen, so a single press on the side there brings it back to life. Okay, so these are all the things I've just been waffling on about. Okay, CO, CO2, HCHO, okay, and these will monitor continuously the air quality around us. Okay, so CO2 at the moment is 463-ish. Now that's about right for an average sort of reading in the UK. Obviously, I'm not in a very polluted area at the moment, but in theory, CO2, carbon dioxide, if I breathe on this thing, it should go up, okay? Which it does, okay? Now that's because I breathed out. This thing is now warmed up, so the readings are much better. Okay, it's gone up to 900 and something or other. It's gone into the orange to show me it's quite polluted. But also HCHO went up, and I think TVOC went up as well. That's a bit concerning. I don't know why they went up so much. Okay, I don't think I've been drinking varnish or anything. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll get a couple of other things to try and measure. What I'm interested in is the CO reading. Okay, so CO, as I said, that's normally from burning materials. So what we're going to do is we're going to burn something. But first, let me reintroduce you to SID. So let me reintroduce SID. Now this is SID. Who the hell is SID? Right, SID is a synthetic inhaling device. Now I did a previous video on this, which is up here, of where I created SID for the purpose of testing this mask, which is from Basecamp. Very good mask. So I use that in the workshop. But I created SID to help me test it. Now I don't need the mask today because I actually need SID to do some breathing. But I'll keep his hat on because it is a bit nippy in the workshop. Okay, now what SID is here, I'll go over this very quickly, but if you want details, watch the video. In his nose and in his mouth, I've drilled some holes, I've put some hoses through. They go down into this chamber here. Okay, this chamber simulates his lungs, not quite the same capacity as mine, it's probably more. And what we've got is a baffle here and a fan here. Now what the fan does is when I turn it on, it draws air in through his nose and his mouth, simulating what we would breathe in. It goes through his lungs, and in there I'm going to put my sensor, so whatever's in his lungs is seen by the sensor. Okay, the amount of airflow that goes through here is adjusted with a variable voltage supply. I've measured that. I've measured the actual airflow of how much I breathe in and out, and I've adjusted it. So basically what SID breathes is the same volume as I would breathe. Okay, that's who SID is. Most of the time he just sits over in the corner collecting dust, but today he's going to have to breathe for a living. I'm going to put this sensor in here and make him breathe in some nasty stuff. Right, so this has now been on charge since I actually got it out of the box, so hopefully if I unplug it, okay, so it's got a battery backup so we can use that, and it's showing a full charge. Let's put this inside SID and then start measuring stuff. Right, before we start spraying stuff up SID's nose, just so we know what's what and what we can expect, all of the items that I listed before, AQI, CO2, HCHO, TVOC, etc., okay, here it gives you values and whether it should be green, orange or red. Obviously red is really bad. You want to try and keep all of your values in the green, or maybe a push orange, but maybe you should be wearing a mask by then. Okay, but it gives you values. So what we're doing is we're going to keep an eye on the monitor while we spray stuff up his nose, and then see whether it goes green, red, orange, purple, mauve, yellow. I've just had to change SID's little setup here at the moment. I've just had to take off the lid, which is on the bottom, because obviously this goes to sleep, and every time I try to disturb it, it all fell over. Okay, but this is fairly sealed at the bottom, so we should be good to go. Now we're going to start off, hopefully you're going to be able to see these figures. I'm going to start off with a bit of good old WD-40. Now it's just going to be a single squirt across his face, not up his nose, just across his face, and see how much he actually breathes in. Now WD-40, I'm expecting it to show up on the TVOCs. Does it tell us what's in it? An explosive mixture of hydrocarbons, C9, C11, alkanes, isoalkanes, cyclic lessened, stuff. Okay, I think this is going to set off the VOCs. Let's give it a squirt. Right, keep an eye on that. Right, instantly the HCHO has gone into the red, and TVOC has gone into red, and also carbon dioxide's gone into the red. Okay, the air quality index is giving us a good measure of the overall values. Carbon monoxide's gone up, which I wasn't expecting. Okay. But that gives you an idea of how sensitive it is. Carbon dioxide's gone up to 2,000. That's a lot. Why has that gone up so much? Now what I've got to do is turn on my extractor, evacuate all of that pollution out of the air, ready for the next test. Right, so my first little test has caused me a bit of problems. I'm waiting for this to get back down to acceptable levels. But what's happened is where I sprayed the WD-40, it's actually gone on this surface here. So what's happened is I've taken it all apart, I've aired it, I put it back together. But what's happening is SID is still breathing in the residue that's sitting on here. So now I've got to put something over that to cover it up, because he's just going to carry on breathing it in until it all evaporates. This testing is going to take ages. Right, let's turn the extractor back on. Right, so the next little test I want to do, I'm going to burn some stuff, okay, just a bit of tissue. Obviously I've got my meter there, but hiding in the background there, I don't know if you can see it, I've got a proper CO meter, okay. This is a dedicated sensor, and this should give me a real reading. Now I believe this one is quite a high quality one, so the real CO reading will be shown on here, okay, and then hopefully we can compare it with what he's breathing in there. Okay, of course now I put that thing at the bottom to stop him breathing in the stuff. I can't see the bloody screen. Right, we should be able to work that out. Right, let's burn some stuff. Right, everything has gone into the red. That's really bad. That shows you how bad smoke actually is. Okay. Right, you can stop breathing that in now. Let's put that out. Health and safety. Look, everything is gone into the red. Air quality index has gone right up. Okay, PM 2.5. I can just about see it. PM 1. PM10, PM3, all redlined basically, but the CO has stayed on 0. Now that's a bit of a concern, isn't it? Now I would expect that to be showing something other than 0. But the other monitor inside is also showing 0. I don't know if we can see this. Yeah, that's also showing 0. So yeah, it's still oxygen, but it's highly polluted. All right, that was interesting. All right, let's clear the air again. All right, I'm going to clear this. If you see some of it's still orange, if I clear it by just walking it outside to get some fresh air, get it focused. Okay, it quickly goes back to acceptable levels, which is good. But I've just put a new mat down to obviously stop it smelling of the WD-40. But here's an interesting thing. Obviously that's literally just come out of the packet. Now if I put that down, there's so many smells coming off of this. Yeah, so I don't know what that was wrapped in, but this surface is actually quite stinky. It's actually affecting the air quality index, HCHOs, so formaldehyde. Yeah, that's not very good. Let's see if I can rub it. Does that make any difference? Right, let's leave the door open for a minute. Oh, it's gone back into the red, look. Oh, everything stinks. Right, I'm going to have to stop filming for the moment because my phone is about to die, so I need to recharge that. And also the new mat I've put down here, because it was wrapped up, it's covered in something, whatever it's been treated with is affecting my readings. So I'm going to have to leave that to air for a day, and I'll have to come back tomorrow when my phone's fully charged. SID's had a bit of a rest, and this thing's aired. Right, I'll see you in a second, but I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. Right, young Sid here has been resting overnight while all the dust settles and all the smells disappear. I think the smells from this mat have now died off a little bit. So that's one thing you must be careful of. When you buy something, you don't know what it's been treated with. You don't know what it's been contaminated with in transport, okay? So that was just a lesson I didn't expect. Right, what we're going to do now is have a quick look at the PM readings, okay? So that's the particulate matter. And that is basically dust and very, very, very small airborne particles. So I'm just going to do a very quick test at the moment. Got Sid here breathing in as usual, going, okay, and what I'm going to do is get a nasty piece of MDF, which we know is horrible. It's full of sticky, adhesive-y, formaldehyde-y rubbish. And then we're going to do this with it. We're going to sand it. Okay, we're going to sand it right in front of his face. We're going to let him breathe it in, and we're going to have a quick look and see what PM readings we get. Okay, but because I know it's already going to be mad and bad, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my mask. Right, I hope you can still hear me. Right, I'm just going to sand for about 30 seconds and see what the readings do. But what I'll do is I'll leave that for a couple of seconds just to let the air and the dust float around. Oh, there you go, the alarm. Oh, the alarm went off and then it cut out. What's going on? That is annoying. Oh, you can't see it in there. Right, I've had to pull it out because it's so dusty. You can see the PM2, it's 2.5's gone up, 10's gone up, 1's gone up, 0.3 has gone up. So all of these are now quite high. The alarm did actually go off, but it just shows you the particulates are actually quite high. But as you can see, these other figures are not too bad. I'll review the little footage there and see what we can make. Okay, we'll leave that at that. I'll let the dust settle. Right, I think that proves the point quickly there with the sanding. I won't go into too much more detail. Obviously, it's showing up a lot of nasty readings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the extractor on for a bit, get rid of some of this dust, and then we'll try something else using the PM readings. Okay, I'm going to use my laser, quickly burn through something and see what smoke we get, and I think we'll get more, and I think we'll get some different readings as well. All right, let me clear up. Let's turn this thing on. Right, young Sid here he's been a bit dedusted. He's not going to like this very much, but what we're going to do now is I've got my laser set up just to cut a couple of circles out of this piece of plywood. Okay, Sid is standing far too close to the laser. He's going to catch all the smoke going up his nostrils. I haven't got any other extraction on at the moment. So what he's breathing in is just going to be what's going to be going on here. So what I'll do is I'll start the laser going, and then we'll quickly monitor and see what he's breathing in. So let's push the go button. Oh, and it's already started, look at that. Now there's interesting, look. Right, carbon dioxide's gone right up, the air quality index has gone right up, the alarm is going off, parts per million, 2.5 has gone right up, and there was a lack of oxygen there, I don't know if you saw that. Oh, come on, get in focus. Yeah, look. The carbon monoxide. Look at all that rubbish that's coming off of that laser. Right, and all I've done is just, I've cut a couple of little circles out. Right, that was literally just a couple of seconds of using the laser. Now, I've been out here before for hours cutting stuff, and I've just been breathing that crap in. That ain't going to happen anymore. Okay, this is probably the best lesson I've learned today, seeing how much of that actually went up. And that was literally just what he was breathing in. Right, obviously it's going down now, but literally everything went into the red. So what I'm going to do is just open the door again. Oh, there's still stuff floating around in the air. Right, that's horrible. That's really horrible. Right, let's open the door. Right, so just out of curiosity, what I'm interested in is the other meter gave me a very high carbon monoxide reading. Okay, so now I've got my dedicated carbon monoxide meter here. I'm going to run exactly the same cut. I've just moved it over a bit so it actually cuts into something else. And I'm going to see if this actually shifts away from zero. I suspect it will, and then I'll air the workshop. Right, so let's give this a quick go. Let's get a bit of focus on that. And push the start button. So exactly the same test again. I'll put that down there because right, well that didn't move. Okay. Right, I have questions. Right, well that raised quite an interesting little question. How comes this meter picked up a lot of CO, like carbon monoxide, during the laser burn, and this one didn't? Now I believe this one because it's quite a dedicated carbon monoxide reading. Okay, this isn't. This is obviously a 15-in-1 sensor. I suspect it's still dusty in here. I suspect the PM readings on this are all done by a dedicated sensor, okay, because obviously the way that the particulate matter is measured, I think it's lasers or a sort of diode that actually refracts light through an airspace, and it detects how much is refracted, which tells you how many particulates are in the air. Okay, I think he's got a dedicated sensor for that, but for the rest of it, I think it's got one sensor that senses everything else. I can see it's got a dedicated temperature and humidity sensor. So I think everything else, okay, so this has got a sensor and this has got a sensor, and all of the PM ones have got a sensor, but all the rest I think are possibly one of these, which is an MP503. Okay, so it's a printed circuit board sensor, a single sensor, and that will measure formaldehyde, benzene, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, alcohol, ammonia, cigarette smoke, and essences like burning oils. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's bad, it means it's one thing trying to do a lot of things. Okay, so it's not a dedicated sensor, it's a shared sensor. Right, how can we test that? The only way I can think of doing it is forcing it to measure one of the components we know it actually measures. And in this case, we'll go for this one, okay, which is alcohol. So if we just make it smell alcohol, really that shouldn't give us any carbon monoxide reading, okay? It should just give us an alcohol reading. If it gives us a carbon monoxide reading, we know that sensor is trying to do too many things, okay? It's giving us a rough idea, but it's not an accurate sensor, okay? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make SID here smell some alcohol. Right, so I'm just trying to make SID here go back down to, well, the sensor here to go back down to acceptable levels, and it wouldn't go down. Now, I thought, well, why is that? Now, I've got my extractor on, okay, up here, but I've just checked the filter, and the filter needs changing, okay? So what it's doing is it's sucking out all the big particles, but it's not capturing the small particles. Now if you look on my other meter here, okay, this one is quite a good meter, it's still showing the very small, like 0.3 micron and 0.5 microns as being very high readings. Okay, so what that means is there's still loads and loads of very, very small particles floating around the air, and that's probably from the laser. Okay, so I'm going to have to open the door and completely vent this area. This is a workshop, it's not a sterile area, okay, so doing this sort of test is all a bit, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, okay, but I can do my best. I'll ventilate this area and then we'll do the alcohol test. Right, I've had the garage door open here for about 20 minutes. I managed to clear the air, everything is now green again. Now, the alcohol test that I'm going to do, very simple test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these. Let's get it in focus for you. Okay, it's just basically a spectacles or lens wipe, okay? And if we look at the ingredients, it's aqua, which is obviously water, and alcohol perfume, okay? So this has got a little tiny bit of alcohol in it, okay? So obviously when you wipe your glasses, you can see it evaporating. That's because of the alcohol. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe it around Sid's nose. Let's try and get you in focus here. I'm going to wipe it around Sid's nose, okay, and then watch this. Now, if he stops going to sleep. Right, I'm having all sorts of trouble now. I'm just trying to do this test, but I've got stuff everywhere. Look, I've got some butane here. I've got some more alcohol stuff here. I've got a gas torch here. There's still dust in the air from the laser. Now, what I'm going to do is quickly do this while I've got it stable. If I could stop it going to sleep. This is really annoying. I don't know if I can turn that function off. Right, so we're in the green. Now, what I want to do is rub this around its nose. The only thing I'm expecting to change is maybe the HCHO and the TVOCs, okay? Because obviously it's going to be smelling alcohol. If the carbon monoxide readings change, we know it's just got an alcohol sensor in it. Which is probably not the best thing. Right, so I've opened this. This is just alcohol. I'm going to rub it around his nose and then we'll zoom in a little bit. Rub, rub, rub. There you go. Clean your nose. Right, immediately we've set off an alarm. Let's zoom you in. What have we got? Now that is just alcohol. It's set off the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, HCHO, TVOC. Okay, so it's given us a really bad air quality index. Why would the CO reading go up? Because we're not taking oxygen away. Okay, all we're doing is rubbing it with alcohol. Okay, so this is something you've got to take into consideration. Right, I think we're going to have to call it a day there because the workshop is so contaminated now with all sorts of stuff. Obviously, I've been using the laser, I've been sanding, I've been squirting stuff around. So the whole workshop now really needs ventilating for a couple of days. This thing is very sensitive, so it's obviously picking up everything. But as I mentioned, I believe the sensor in here is just an alcohol sensor. So it's going to pick up more than you expect. Right. I've had a quick look about the time and the date up here. Okay, I wanted to change that, but you can't change that until you actually log on to your Wi-Fi, okay, and then download the app, which I think there's a QR code here. You then go onto the app. Then you can control things and set alarms. I won't cover that in this video because it's already been too long. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there. I might even go and have a cup of tea. Right, let's finish this off. Right, so that's about it for all my messing around with this today. Okay, this is the Mustool 15-in-1 air quality monitor. Okay, it's about £20. There is a link in the description. But what you must remember, this is probably not the best thing to use if you're going to rely on it for things like carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. I'm quite confident with the particulate matter readings, okay, because I think it's got a dedicated sensor, but all the other things I suspect are on a single sensor. I can't confirm this, but I've tested it as much as I can. I suspect there's one sensor trying to do too many things. So I wouldn't rely on this in a life and death situation. Okay, it's a good indicator and it will give you a rough idea of the quality of the air, but it's not a security device. Okay, I just thought I'd put that out there. Overall, it looks great. As I say, you've got to log on to the Wi-Fi and download the app to actually start changing the time and date, etc. But then you can monitor and record some historical data. So if you've got it in your house at certain times of the day, things happen, it might be a good indicator that you've got maybe a leaking central heating system, something like that. But as I say, this is going to be okay in the workshop. I'll leave it in the workshop. It's good it's got battery backup because then you can actually move it around the house and put it in different places. I like the fact it's got an alarm, okay, for different levels. I think also you can adjust those levels when you log on to the app. So it's got an alarm, so that could give you an audible warning instead of just a visual one. The figures do change quite quickly, okay, it's very sensitive, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to read. But overall, it's okay. As I say, it's not a major safety device, but it's just an indicator. Right, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was informative, and I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not you want to get one of these or not. Okay, if you do, there's a link in the description. I don't get anything for it. It's just up to you. Right, so from me and from Sid, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Total, what is it? I've just reviewed that footage of me Oh, what a time. Keep burning, keep burning. Now the only way I can think of doing it is making it total. I'm going to get it right one day.